Well, hello, my dear Patreon supporters. I hope you are doing well. It's been a while since I addressed a video directly to you, so here it goes. As you can see, only Humphrey is left. The other guy, Chainsaw Man, I put back on his shelf. I was recording a video for the channel just a little bit earlier, which you might actually see, in a few hours' time. If you connect to YouTube, you'll see that I will be discussing the topic of hybrid INFJs as opposed to pure INFJs, and looking forward to knowing what you think. Of course, perhaps even from a semantic viewpoint, this pure INFJ is a little bit too reminiscent of a somber epoch of the 20th century. Hopefully not. Hopefully we can still use the term in a way that's semantically helpful and not bringing too many unhelpful connotations. Anyway, so this is an episode of INFJ Diary, by the way, where I'm kind of free-flowing about what's been going on. INFJ Diary, I think, will continue to be exclusive to the Patreon community, I have to apologize as well because the sun is being very annoying at the moment. It's either behind a cloud, sometimes it comes out. So I'm just going to leave it as like this for now, but I might have to lower the blind if this continues. So yeah, what's been going on? Well, I'm still job seeking. It's been a couple of months now. It's turning out to be, like a little bit more complicated than I expected. Well, has it been more complicated than I expected? No, to be honest, not really. Because finding a job in France, in my area or areas, is a lot easier if you're in Paris, because most NGOs are in Paris, and really my work history has been linked to NGOs. Now, I experienced Paris for a brief period in November, as you might recall, and decided that it wasn't for me at all, and I figured I'd move back south. So I'm back south and much happier here. Sure, I'm looking for a job, and eventually I will have to find this job, but my morale is good because I know I made the right decision. That's very important, and also because I'm keeping away. I'm plugging away at it. I'm applying, every day. Like maybe today is a break, well-deserved break. It's the Sunday after all. I need to take a little bit of a break, but I'm sending lots of CVs, and I just have this innate confidence that it will sooner or later, bite. So not too worried about that. It's giving me time as well to do other things, like thinking about the INFJ and type. You might have caught the video I released recently on writing a book on the INFJ, or on type rather, a bit of advice. I was a bit disappointed with the numbers. I thought my audience would be a little bit more interested. Oh, this is becoming too annoying. 1 second. Oh. This is a complaint. This is a complaint that, what would you call it? In French, there is a phrase, right? There is a phrase that we use for this kind of complaints. It's called cracher dans la soupe. Cracher dans la soupe means to spit in the soup. Is to be kind of ungrateful, because basically I'm complaining about the fact that it's the middle of January and the weather is really good. So I'm dealing with the negative consequences of the weather being really good. So there are worse things, and I'm aware of it. Don't worry about that. So what was I saying? Yeah, so I'm kind of applying as much as possible. I'm trying to branch out, try to see if I could apply to other things than just NGOs. In fact, I have no choice, because there's like 6 NGOs in Marseille, as opposed to maybe 500 in Paris. I don't know. I'm applying in Geneva as well, where there are lots of NGOs. So that's Marseille, the Marseille area, South France, and Geneva are my two targets, and I'm applying to lots of NGOs, but also like the civil service, I guess, like the public service in France, fonction publique territoriale, to be working here. There's lots of like research positions, or rather like positions to support research that I thought, I think I might be good You know, I enjoy, particularly if the positions are kind of bilingual, focused on international partnerships and European partnerships, that kind of would resonate with my academic and international background. But who knows, you know, I'll see what I get. You know, there's a point also that where you have to face that you might not have as much choice as you would like. I mean, you know, if I can get exactly what I want, that's perfect. But if the necessity of earning money just becomes absolutely topmost, I might have to adapt a little bit, which, you know, for an INFJ is not always ideal. I wish I could just make enough money from like revenue from my books and from the Patreon page, so I could just completely dedicate myself to research. I'd love to do that, but it's, you know, it's not realistic, and you guys are already really, really generous, you know, and it helps a lot. Like, for example, at the moment, I'm living at home, so my expenses are limited, which is great. But the way I'm kind of keeping afloat, I'm still, you know, able to continue getting on is through like the small revenue I get, and hopefully I'll be getting some social welfare soon. But the French administration is really slow. That's just something everybody knows. Anyway, so all this is to say, I have time to think about INFJ and how to proceed with the sequel. You know, like, I'm not gonna tell you that I have a title for the sequel yet. I have a working title for my manuscript, but it's just so that I don't just say, like, if my Word file was called like, oh, new book on the INFJ, I'd find the title so uninspiring that it would actually prevent my excitement to to actually open the file and start jotting down notes on a day-to-day basis. I don't know if this is part of the holistic INFJ mind, but I need everything to kind of be exciting, even a working title that I know will not be the final title. So whilst, you know, now that you're aware this will not be the final title, I will share with you the actual working title. I've provisionally titled my manuscript The Resilient Soul. So there's the Ecstatic Soul is the first book, and The Resilient Soul is the second book. Why I like it, because it's easy to pronounce and I kind of like the idea. I will not 95% likely not keep it as my final title, just because it looks a bit too much like the first book, and I do want to convey the idea with the title and the cover and stuff that it is still going to offer lots of new content, and it is a sequel to the first book, but mostly in the sense that it's a further research into the INFJ type, INFJ consciousness type in general, and all that stuff. So it's not gonna, almost certainly not gonna remain The Resilient Soul. But, you know, I just wanted to share that little, you know, exclusive information with you. You are, you know, supporting me every month on Patreon, so you deserve that little bit of exciting stuff. So I have written what, like, it's only been a few days that I started writing, so it's only a few pages of the first chapter. You know, I'm not starting with the introduction, because usually if you start with the introduction, by the time you finish with the book, you have to rewrite the introduction, because the book went in a different direction than you expected. At least it diverged from its main path, imagined path, quite a bit, which happens all the time in research. I've written books before, so I just know that happens. So it's much better to just jump straight into chapter one and then just continue writing, and then you edit, then the whole thing starts having a good structure. And once you're happy with the structure, then you can write the introduction and present what's, you know, following. So I dived straight into chapter one. The provisional title for chapter one is called Rethinking the INFJ. If you would like me to share more information on what I'm discussing in the book so far in terms of notes, and we can discuss that, I'd happily do it. You know, the only thing is, you know, maybe this would spoil a little bit of your pleasure when you read the final product. Or it might not, because the final product will be different from the manuscript. So it's kind of up to you and what you tell me in terms of your impressions as well. So I'm planning to do a bit of writing this afternoon on the manuscript. Like, my method, you know, there's lots of different approaches that, you know, this is something I could have mentioned in my video on writing a book on type, but people are very different. Like, this is something that I've really learned with experience. It's pointless and actually counterproductive to try to think that you must follow a certain pattern of writing. Like, some people are much better writing twice a week, but 10 hours a day or something. Some people are better at writing like 2 hours a day, but every day. Sometimes not even 2 hours, but every day, a little bit every day. And I'm like in that a little bit every day category, like and it seems to be working for me because I'm relatively, maybe not prolific, but productive. I do get stuff out. So that's what works for me. But trust me, I don't actually, when I'm working on a manuscript on the INFJ, like, I don't spend all day on it. It's just not how I function. It's not how my mind works. It's not how my focus works. It's just like short enough bursts, like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And sometimes I even allow myself a little break, or to get distracted. What's fundamental is that I enjoy the process and that I keep my mind fresh so that my insights can be the most piercing as possible. So in terms of a release date, I have no idea at this point, but if I could get like the manuscript finalized by the summer of 2024, I think that would be pretty good for release in September, for instance. Maybe that's unrealistic. It will depend on how things progress. If I start hearing back from employers, and engage in like eventually find a job and have to start, that probably would slow down the process. So it is a very indicative aim that I have, but there's no real pressure on my shoulders, would be like being able to release the book in September. But things might very well change, but probably not before that anyway. So I will stop here because it's been already long enough. But please, by all means, please interact with me and let me know if you have any comments about what you've heard in this video. I mean, I think that I've mostly talked about the book, but if you have any other comments that you think are useful or want to discuss anything, just, drop a comment in Patreon and we'll discuss. All right. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. And again, as always, thank you for your support. Appreciate it massively. Take care. Bye-bye.